Chapter 12, number 6, asks us to evaluate 3 policies, possible responses to that negative externality issue when the banana plantations foul the waters for fishermen. Regulation, taxation, and compensation. And we're asked to evaluate them on fairness and Pareto efficiency. So let's think about that. Regulation is where the government somehow knows the desirable amount of bananas to be produced, caps the allowed production of bananas at that socially best level, and then administers the quota. If the cap is half what it was before, every banana plantation has to reduce their output by half. And in one sense, this is a fair approach, but this approach is not Pareto efficient. And to see why I think about the case, well, let's compare it with a tax. If the government issued a tax that was equal to the cost of the damage to the fishermen, then the tax has this sorting mechanism that gets us to a better outcome. Banana plantations that are doing less well, their costs are higher, the tax might put them out of business, but they were the ones that were just scraping along. They were not the low-cost banana producers, so we're losing the output that was most expensive, where the social gains associated with that output were smallest. Also, there might be, in the present, if you were taxed on the emissions released to the water, there might be a way to avoid emitting that pollution and pick a cheaper, well, not cheaper, but cheaper when there's a tax anyway, pick a different pesticide or herbicide. And what a tax gets you is Pareto efficiency, because a tax will put the incentive out there, and plantation owners can respond accordingly. They can pay the money and keep emitting the pollution, but now their costs have gone up and naturally their output will go down, or they could find a second best way to fertilize or kill pests and avoid the damage that way. And typically profit maximizing plantation owners are going to find the way that's cheapest, and that's socially desirable. Now, is that fair? I'd argue that conserving resources for their highest use elsewhere is desirable from a fairness perspective as well. But some people have an issue with the people giving firms, in this case plantation owners, the ability to pay to be able to pollute. As some people see an ethical violation there. I understand we'd rather not have pollution, but anyway, going with a fair regulatory approach that's really expensive, I don't know, saving those resources, paying less money to get the same amount of benefit, those resources can do something else in the economy, hopefully something to the good. Anyway, so the taxes are better on Pareto efficient. The other fairness question of the tax is the revenues go to the government, not to the affected fishermen. The banana output, the pollution output, is at its socially best level, presumably, if you get the right tax in place, and you can sort of hunt and peck around until you get it right. But the money goes to the governing authority, not to the fishermen. And so the direct compensation is perhaps a little bit more fair. If the pollution is released, the government can require the plantation owner that released the pollution to compensate the affected farmers. If that's possible, if it's possible to identify the affected parties and the amount of compensation due and all that, it's fair and efficient. It would be a charge on emissions, much like the tax would be, but the revenue would go to the affected fishermen, not to fund other projects in the economy. And so in that sense, it's more fair. The harmed parties are compensated directly. So that's a rough job on number 6.